So we're going to talk about self-care during, the stressful times that we're having. So that's the main topic. I wanted to quickly tell you guys about Blomquist and your benefit with us and what we're here to help with. So as you know, we want to help with any challenge that you guys could be having. And so please, if you're having anything going on, then you are welcome to give us a call. And it's like it says, it's going to be free and it's going to be 100% confidential. And so, the types of sessions we're going to be doing is mainly going to be phone sessions or video conferencing. We're not meeting face to face currently. We hope to in the near future, as all of you guys probably know. But we're doing sessions over the phone and video. Really, really simple to get that done. Just call the same number. The number is 801-262-9619. And that's on any of our information. You can find that online. You don't need to have that, but please call and we can help you out with anything that you're thinking of, any type of life challenge. So really, really simple. And besides that, we always have the 24-hour crisis line. So if you are in a crisis and need something, please give us a call. We always have a therapist that's on call that can help with anything that you would need and help you get to the right spot. Hours are going to be the same for us. So we're going to be here most days from 9 to 9. On Friday, it's 9 to 5. And Saturday, it's usually 8 to 3. And so those are just kind of the hours, and we're still here to help as much as we can. And also, we're probably going to be doing more of these video sessions because, like we said, there's a lot of people here, and so this is a real important topic for people. So look for those, and we're happy to do those in the future. So, okay. So to begin with, we wanted to talk about, kind of some of the CDC's guidelines of what they've been saying about, the COVID-19 and earthquakes and everything like that. And so I just kind of want you guys to think about this statement on here that coping with stress will make you, the people you care about, and your community stronger. I think that's something that we haven't been thinking a lot about lately. I know we've been thinking a lot about, COVID-19. We've been thinking a lot about the earthquake. We've been thinking a lot about how this is a difficult thing for us and causing us a lot of trouble and changing a lot of things. And it is, but the goal of today is to show you how if you're doing some certain things, you actually can, be doing pretty well, and you can cope with this stress pretty well. And it can make us stronger going forward. So that's a real important thing to think about as we talk about these things and as we learn more. So there's a lot of hope for what's going on. So, okay. So some of the stress, I know you guys have been dealing with a lot of stress, hence why there's a lot of people here, and so with this outbreak. So these are some of the things that are stressful. And as you know, everybody's different and going to be experiencing different things. So some of, we're worried about our loved ones. We're worried about 401ks and stocks and our economy and everything like that. And those types of things are changing some of our sleep and eating patterns. And it makes us difficult to sleep and to concentrate. So, some people with chronic health problems are suffering even a little bit more. And one thing that we turn to is numbing ourselves out. So increasing alcohol and tobacco and other drugs at this time. And that's one thing, like I said, we're going to talk about a little bit more, but we want to try to avoid that as much as possible. Another interesting thing is these things are straining our family relationships. Some data from China is actually showing that people are getting divorced after this is kind of settling down because we're spending more time together, we're interacting more, and that can cause some strain on our relationship. So that's a kind of a side note that people haven't been thinking about. So we'll talk about that a little bit today too. So, okay, so right away I want to talk about some ways that the CDC talks about to manage anxiety and stress. So one big thing that we're seeing is we got to take some breaks from this. You can't spend all of your time watching or reading or listening to stuff about whether it's the earthquake that we just had or COVID-19. It's okay to be informed. And there's a balance between being informed and spending way too much time using all of our time listening to that type of stuff. So you got to be careful with that. With one thing that I've said about is you kind of got to be intentional. You're going to hear that throughout this presentation about being intentional about things. So if you really want to know things going on and it's good to be informed, set some times during the day. If you really like to watch the 10 o'clock news, then watch the 10 o'clock news. But the rest of the day, I don't want you spending all of your time reading stuff on social media or, watching all the different newses. Spend some time and set apart some time to say, hey, during this time, I want to know what's going on. I want to know what's helpful. If there's a town hall meeting, I know there was one of those on TV recently. I really want to see that. Okay, then make that a part. But I don't want you spending the rest of your day or the rest of your time watching that stuff. These next things about taking care of your body, we're going to talk a lot about today. So the CDC says that, taking deep breaths and stretching and meditation, all of those things are going to be really, really good now and are really going to help us to reduce some of these fears and anxiety. Eating healthy is real important. Now, is it as easy as it was in the past where we could just go to the grocery store and we could get fresh fruit and vegetables? No, it's probably not. And so as much as possible, we want to do the best we can. And when we can eat those healthy fruits and vegetables and proteins and stuff, then do it. But if we go a month or so of, doing the best we can, that's not going to totally damage all the things we've done. So like I said, with health and food, try the best you can. Regular exercise is going to be hugely important for stress, for anxiety, for feeling better about ourselves. We're going to talk a lot about that today. So finding some way to get some exercise. Sleep is going to be just as important now. And so something to think about, and we'll talk about a little more. And then, as we said, avoiding drugs and alcohol. So a couple more things. So finding some time to unwind is going to be hugely important. And so that's taking a break from the news. That's taking a break from stress. That's taking a break from maybe even communication and everything with your family, just to spend some time on your own, to meditate, to read a book, take a bath, whatever it is, you need some time to unwind and to do some things that make you happy. Right now, it's okay to be outside. We don't have a problem with that. Obviously, we're social distancing, so we don't want to be around a ton of people while we're doing that. But going for a walk, being out in, outside in nature is going to be really, really helpful for us. So if that's something you enjoy, great. But find some activities that make you happy and make sure you're doing them. I would say, like I tell you, we want to be intentional. So I would take some time to really write down what are some things that I could be doing that would help me to enjoy my life during these next couple weeks, couple months, whatever it is, while we're kind of isolating and we're more in our houses and we might go to work or we might be working at home. But really make a good list for you and for your kids of these are things that we could be doing that's going to help us to enjoy life at this point and be okay. So take some time really to do that. This next one's an interesting one. We want to connect with others. We want to talk with others about some of our concerns and some of our feelings. We know that we're trying not to be with each other very much in person. We're doing that social distancing, and that's really important. But that doesn't mean that we can't text. That doesn't mean we can't talk on the phone and use Facebook and all of those things. we got to the point where we're saying those things are they're negative, they're taking away from relationships. In this instant, it's actually a good thing that we have them, because now we can continue a lot of those relationships. I know in the earthquake, and when that happened, I was talking to my family, and I was texting them, and trying to figure out what was going on, and trying to support them through some of these things. So right now, it's okay to use those. In the future, we'll try to take a step back from them, and we might have to relearn how to do that. But right now, we want to be connected with people. We need people. Find some time to relax, sitting on your porch, doing some things, that's relaxing for you is really important. This is probably a good time to make some goals for your life, some goals for the next couple months, some goals for things going forward. How do I get back on track? We have a lot of times we're really busy, and things are happening. And so now we have a time to take a step back and really figure out what's important to us and make some goals about some things to do in the future. I put this on here because if you get on the CDC and put in managing anxiety and stress, then a lot of this information is going to come up, and a lot of really good insights going to come up. And it's going to have a lot of links to different resources about whether it's talking to kids or how do I keep myself safe. Tons and tons of things that could be really beneficial. So that's just the Center of Disease Control. So if you just put in the CC, managing anxiety and stress, it'll take you where you need to go. So let's understand some of the risks, because knowing what's actually a risk is really important and helps it to be less stressful, rather than, because we hear random things from time to time and we can get really worried about that. So let's quickly talk about some of the facts of the COVID-19 situation. So this disease can affect everyone, every race, ethnicity, every age group. We know from most of the research and most of what's being told to us that younger people, they can for sure carry, COVID-19, but it doesn't usually affect them as much. And so that's, something good to think about with our kids. At the same time, we don't want them carrying it and giving it to people that can be a lot more susceptible to what could happen. So that's some of what to be careful with that. We don't know how it will affect everybody, but even kids need to be careful because they could be spreaders of the disease. So be really careful with that. For most people.
Thank you for calling Granite Credit Union. This is Lena.
Yeah, so for most people, this isn't going to be a huge problem. And the risk of dying or seriously ill is low. But like I said, we want to be careful, and we want to keep people really safe. And so we don't want to give it to people that it, might have some serious effects upon. So that's a big goal with that. Once people have been, completed quarantine and they're released, and I heard on the news that it was, once they have no symptoms for 72 hours, that looks like they're doing pretty well. And so I'm not the doctor, I'm a therapist. And so that's just what I've heard. And so if you're around someone that has been quarantined and they're getting better, then I would look into that. But what I've heard is 72 hours. So 3 days of no symptoms, and they're doing a lot better. There's simple things we can do to keep ourselves safe. You guys have all heard these. Washing our hands for 20 seconds, avoiding, what we're doing with our coughs, and staying away from people if we've been sick, and trying to stay home and social isolating. So those simple things are going to help a ton and have helped a ton so far. Knowing some of the signs and symptoms, you guys have all heard these, whether it's a fever, whether it's breathing problems, whether it's, lots of coughing, lots of different things. So those signs and symptoms are good to know. And once we know those, then we can be like, okay, well, that's something different, or that's something that could be it. And so maybe I could call and think about getting tested. But knowing the actual risks is really helpful. So let's quickly talk about supporting your family a little bit. And I know you guys have some really good ideas about doing this. And so if you want to share some of those, feel free to put those in the comments for everybody to read, and maybe I can even look over those a little bit and read some of those out loud. But please put those in the comments. So taking time to talk about this is important with your kids, with your teens, with each other. We all have different reactions about this situation. It's okay to feel upset. It's okay to feel like you're prepared. It's okay not to feel prepared. There's no perfect way to do that. And your children need to know that, for one, we're going to be okay, and it's okay to talk about it. You guys are the example, parents, adults, teenagers, people. You guys can be an example to each other about how to deal with stress. So this is a big thing to talk about with each other, is how can I do that? How can we deal with this type of stress, and how do I cope with it? We talked about limiting your family's exposure to news coverage and all of that. Some of it's okay. It's good to be informed. It's not great to spend your whole life doing that. So as you know, when you talk with children, you can, what are you hearing? What are some of the things that scare you? And that will help you to talk about it a little bit. Regular routines are going to be huge. The schools are closed. You all know that. And so routines for kids and for us are real important. So I would take some time in the future to, what do I want my schedule to look like now that I'm home? Where do I spend, what time should I get up? What should I do in the morning? Do I want to do some exercise, some meditation? What time are we going to do the meals? Whatever it is. So keeping a good schedule is going to be really, really helpful, and is going to be really beneficial going forward. So something to kind of keep in mind. Like we talked about, taking breaks, getting as much sleep as you can. Usually, we're talking 7 to 9 hours. If you're spending your whole day in your bed, then, obviously that can be too much. And let's talk about some things to do, exercising, eating well. We're going to talk some more about that. We talked about connecting. And one thing to think about with families is, we want to be careful. We're really trying to keep this spread from happening with our parents and grandparents. And so we want to be really careful about, who we're letting into our houses, and who, and signs and symptoms and everything like that. So those are just some things to support your family with that we wanted to talk about a little bit. There's more. You've probably heard more online or seen them. There's a lot of really good things to talk about with that. So yeah, we're going to talk about some of that great stuff here really soon that you just said. So okay, so I said I was going to talk about these a little bit more. So sleep's important. It's even more important right now to get some good sleep and to reduce some anxiety. So we're going to really talk about how to get good sleep, because right now we want to fight off things that are happening, whether it's, the flu's still around, colds are still around. So we want to be able to fight off that. And we want to have the best immune system that we can. And so sleep's going to help us to do that. So with diet, like we said, it's probably not the perfect time to be going to the store every day and picking up healthy fruits and vegetables. Find some that are going to last a while and pick those up. Frozen vegetables are great. Some canned things can be good. Try to eat healthy when you can. Like I said, that's the goal. You don't have to be perfect all the time. And so try to find some good, healthy things to be doing. When we talk about exercise, as you know, we're no longer going to the gym. I know my gym's closed down for right now. Exercise outside is great. You want to limit to who you're going to be around, but being outside, going for walks, going for a run, biking, all of those things are really good to be doing right now. On my way to work, I saw people doing that. And like I said, you want to be careful about how many people you're around, but doing that can be fantastic. Doing really big, grueling things right now, I heard can be a little bit taxing on our immune system. So when I talk about grueling, that's like running a half marathon or biking a really long way. So just be careful with that, especially if you haven't been doing that a lot lately. So just kind of take it easy with yourself, but exercise is fantastic. And like this is saying, 30 to 60 minutes is actually going to help us to keep our immune systems good and keep some viruses at bay. So just some thoughts about sleep and exercise. So how much sleep is necessary? Like I said, most of us know this. We're talking 7 to 9 hours would be fantastic if we're getting that. I want you to kind of think about, how do I feel when I'm not getting enough sleep? And everybody knows, just kind of what's going on with that. And like I said, if you have comments, feel free to post those. Everybody will be able to see those, and comments can be really helpful for everybody. Some negative effects of sleep, is we're going to be more irritable. And right now we're around each other more. We're around our families more. So irritable right now wouldn't be great, because we can get on each other's nerves, and that might explain some of the Chinese divorce rate going up a little bit because of this COVID-19. We can have that be short-tempered. We're a lot more likely to get stressed if we're not sleeping so well. So sleep's one of the most important things we can do for stress and anxiety and depression. So make that a priority while you're kind of planning out your time. Sleep's a priority right now. So some of the great things that sleep's going to do for us, I'll just list some of them here for you. So obviously it's going to make our brains work better. This is where we have that memory and retention. This is when our brains process everything that happened that day and keeps the things we need and gets rid of the things that we don't. It's good to be creative right now. It's good to draw. It's good to paint. It's good to do some things like that could be beneficial for us. We're a lot more likely to feel creative and feel like we can do that stuff if we're getting some sleep. So increases our happiness. We're looking for that. And like you said, you saw that comment of talking about being positive and happy in this time. Sleep's one way to do that. So since sleep's so important, let's talk about some ways to have that happen. So, and this person said, so I'm finding that, this has made my marriage and family life better because of the uncertain unnecessary goes away, and we focus on the more important things. I think that is something that's happening right now in our lives, is we are focusing on what's important. We're focusing on family, we're focusing on each other, and we're together. And so that's real important, rather than whether we were focusing on social media and all the other things that are going on. This the earthquake, COVID-19, being in our homes gives us an opportunity to think about what's really important to us. Gives us an opportunity to step back and to be like, what's really important to me? What can I do? How can I help these things to be more successful? So great comment. So let's talk about sleep and how to have those healthy habits. So a good sleep hygiene routine is real important right now. So what this would be like is, okay, so half hour before I'm going to bed, what do I do? What is my routine? And is this routine helping me to get successfully asleep? Your routines all can be different, but a lot of them could include journaling. They could include, a little bit of a meditation. They could include, reading. All of these different things can help us. Some of the things that we want to try to stay away from, we want to, obviously we want to avoid caffeine. And your body more than anybody else. And so caffeine right before bed isn't going to be helpful and isn't going to keep you asleep. Some people will talk about no caffeine after dinner. And so if you struggle with staying awake, then think about that and try to reduce the caffeine that you're having during that point. So naps are an interesting thing. To get a good night's sleep, you want to try to avoid naps during the day. And if you've done them, then try to reduce them if you're struggling with sleep at night. So something to think about with that. And like I said, these are not 100% perfect rules. They're good things to think about, especially if you're struggling with sleep from time to time. exercise is huge for sleeping. So you want to make sure that you're getting some exercise, and that will tire your body out and make it so it's a lot easier to sleep at night. You don't want to exercise too close to bedtime is another thing with exercise, because that can actually wake your body up and keep you awake for a while longer. So like I said, you and see what that means, but usually it's exercising earlier in the day is better. The electronics thing, we've all heard that blue light, whether it's TVs, whether it's our phones, iPads, whatever it is, try to stay away from that blue light an hour before bed. That, some people think that keeps us awake a good amount. You'll find other people that say, hey, having the TV on a little bit helps me sleep. Most of the data is saying, stay off electronics an hour before bed. So some relaxation and anxiety techniques, some mindfulness, some meditation, some reading, thinking about a safe, calm place, making sure that your room is the opposite of what this picture is. This is obviously morning. We don't want to be doing that at night. So turn off the lights, have it cool, quiet place and dark where you can sleep. So a 20-minute rule, this is an interesting idea. If you can't fall asleep in 20 minutes, they usually will want you to get up out of your bed, maybe go sit in a chair and read for a couple minutes. Maybe, do a little bit of meditation, do something that's going to get you out of your bed, and then go back after a couple minutes. And usually that helps a lot to get people back to bed. So just some thoughts on how to have some healthy sleep habits. So some good ideas there. So nutrition, like I said, this is something that we talked about. What types of things should we be eating right now? This picture has a lot of great stuff that we could. Some of those things, like I said, might not be exactly what we could eat right now. We don't want to be going to the store that often. We want to kind of limit that. So make sure you pick up what you need. And right now it's doing the best you can. It's probably good to take some vitamins at this point, because we might not be getting all of the vitamins from the fruits and vegetables that we used to be getting, even though we're going to try, and that's going to be a goal, but taking one of those would be great. Moderation is good. Like I said, most times if we're talking about nutrition and being healthy, we want to avoid things that are in a box and a bag and try to get the things that are fresh and healthy. Right now, it's okay to have some of those, and those aren't going to have long-term consequences, especially if we're trying our best to be healthy where we can. So somebody kind of talked about this already, that eating together, being together, that social distancing, but being with families, let's use that to try to build relationships with each other. Let's try our best to show each other and to be, to listen and to interact. And right now is a great time to do that. In Utah, that's a big part of our society. And so that's something we want to really continue. So try to do that stuff as much as possible. As you can see, some people are putting in some great talking about some really good stuff in the chat, whether it's, the Calm app, and they're talking about some apps and some things that we can do. Read over some of those things. Are really, really good. A lot of different great ideas you guys are having. So some of the benefits of healthy eating, let's put some of those up for you guys to think about. This is why we try to eat healthy. This is why, we do the best we can right now, because these things are real important. Your habits that you guys could start right now, they are really going to help you going forward. Our habits really dictate how healthy we're going to be. And so if we can have healthy habits, they've said, it says reduces the cancer risk. 7 out of 10 of those long-term chronic issues that people get, whether it's cancer, heart attacks, and just heart disease and cardiovascular issues, 7 out of 10 of those issues that we have are because of our habits, because of the sleep that we get, because of what we're eating, and because of our exercise. If we're really able to improve those things, then 7 out of 10 of those are going to be so much less, which is really cool for us to think about. So physical activity, I wanted to put a few things about that up here. So a lot of you have kids, it's important for kids, 3 to 5 to get activity throughout the day. So look for opportunities to get in your backyards, to go to parks and run around and do things, and try to, just be out there doing some things that can kind of be active and really helpful. 6 to kind of your teenage years, you want 60 minutes of exercise every day. And so that's going for a jog, walking, all of these different types of things. And maybe right now, 60 minutes isn't 100% possible, but for most people, it's going to be. And more likely now, it's more possible than ever before. Tons and tons of different things on social media that could help. YouTube's going to have lots of videos about exercise. I know Instagram has tons of stuff. You can sign up for different things right now, that whether it's beachbody.com has a great thing where you can do lots of different workouts, whether it's P90X or 21 Day Fix, and you can do all these things from your home. And so find ways to be active. For adults, we're looking to 150 minutes to 300 minutes, a week. So that's 30 minutes to 60 minutes a day. And so even walking can do a ton and can be really, really beneficial for you guys. So look to get some exercise. This picture is kind of what we want to avoid at this point. As we're social, distancing and being in our homes a lot, these kids, they seem to be tired of even playing their games. And so let's get them up and moving and doing some stuff. So some things to think about is we want to try to move more, sit less. We know any type of exercise at this point is much better than nothing and has some health benefits. All of these things that we're trying to do is we're trying to reduce anxiety and stress. We're trying to improve our lives and our bodies and everything. And we do this by exercise and by eating and by sleep. And so keep some of that stuff up. Here's some of the benefits of exercise that I wanted to put out there. So right now, and most times, you're going to do the exercise that's fun. You're going to do what's enjoyable. So make it enjoyable. Do the ones that make you happy. If you love yoga, do yoga. If you like riding your bike, ride your bike. If you have some weights to lift, do that. Find something that's enjoyable. Maybe this is a time to find more things that you didn't know about that is going to be helpful. So, and you can see all the benefits on here to improving your sleep and countering anxiety and depression, making us more optimistic and positive, like somebody talked about. It's going to help us focus more and come up with a better plan for ourselves and our families, whether we're thinking about an earthquake or COVID-19. So we're going to move into talking about some stress now. We talked about some really beneficial habits of exercise, sleep, and eating. Let's talk about stress. So with stress, what we know about it is it's not going away anytime soon. It's here to stay. Even when we're not having COVID-19, even when we're not having an earthquake, it's around us. We're in relationships. We're thinking about money. We have different types of things that ensure that it's here. The goal is not to take away stress. The goal is to help you manage it successfully and to bring down how many stressful things we might have. And so let's learn how to manage it the best way that we can. One way to do that is, talking about some of the warning signs of stress. So with this, it's, a lot of different things happen. And it's good for you guys to kind of think about, well, what are some signs of stress for you? And here's some things that we've seen. I know for me, sometimes I'll get a knot in my shoulder, or I could get headaches is kind of a big one. Sometimes for me, sleep becomes an issue, and I have to write down, these are some things that I really want to think about tomorrow, whether that's in a journal or just on my phone, and say, tomorrow will be a good time to think about those. But right now, I'm going to go to sleep. But I'll spend time tomorrow doing it. which can kind of calm down some of those thoughts that I'm having. So I want you guys to think about, for you, what are some of my warning signs of stress, and what types of stress am I having? So a couple things for you guys to think about is, what does stress do to you? So we had COVID-19, we have this isolating stuff we're doing, and we're worried about our money and our jobs and our kids and our parents and grandparents. So all of these things are going on. And then Wednesday morning, we wake up and there's an earthquake. I believe it was on Wednesday. and there's an earthquake that happens that, and that's just one more thing. And that's where we had some breakdowns with people. That's just one more thing to try to handle, and it's too much. And so that's some of what stress does to us. That was a sign that was happening. Stress causes us to have health problems. There's statistics that say 75 to 90% of the reason why we go to the doctor is because of stress. Stress weakens our immune system and makes it so that it's going to be a struggle. And right now we want to reduce stress as much. So for one, we're able to beat off, viruses or illnesses or things, but also we feel healthier. We talked about how stress kind of influences relationships because it puts us on edge and helps us, kind of makes us struggle a little bit. One thing that happens with stress is it kind of takes out the good of life and helps us to think about depression, anxiety, and all the bad things. Right now, we're thinking about COVID-19. We're thinking about our families. We're thinking about a lot of scary things, and stress is doing that to us a little bit. We need to be able to say, what is going on that's good? What can we be grateful for? What is out there that's helping us? Every day, there's so many amazing things that could be happening and that are happening. It's fantastic for us to think about some of those things and be really grateful for them. So let's look at the good instead of thinking about all the bad. So most times, in most situations, there's stress can be good. The stress that's difficult for us, we're going to call that distress. The stress that's good is going to call eustress. So I want you guys to think about this. This is what makes something a eustress. So if we believe that this is, a normal psychological, stress interpreted, that it's going to be beneficial. So if we see this stress as it's going to be helpful or beneficial to us, that's going to help us a ton. Stress motivates us to do something. When we had that earthquake and I was getting up and deciding where I should be, it motivated me to come up with a better plan about what I'm going to do in my house. How am I going to take care of my family if we do have a serious earthquake? It's motivating us to be successful. It's short term. So COVID-19, we know if we do a lot of things, most likely it's going to be short term. We know in China that they're making some real progress on getting back to work and things happening. 42 Apple stores opened again in China. They're closing down some of the hospitals that they created because there's not enough patients to treat. They don't need them any longer. And they've been dealing it with the last couple months. If we do some things right now that we're talking about, that you're hearing from the CDC and the government and everything, if we do some of those things, most likely this isn't going to last long. That's the goal, and that's why we're doing this stuff. If we perceive that we can get through this, then we're going to be a lot more successful. The earthquake, COVID-19 doesn't feel exciting. I get that. But some of the goals, some of the things that we can come up with can be exciting and be like, I really want to work on this, or I have an opportunity to do some self-help or to listen to some books or read some books that I didn't have a chance to before. I'm going to really learn how to become better at this sort of thing in my job. So a lot of these things can help us to improve our performance and really help us to be more successful. So as much as possible, let's help these situations to turn into a eustress rather than a distress. It's really our perception and how we perceive it that determines if it's going to be a distress or a eustress. And you're the only one that determines that. Nobody else does that. No virus determines, your thoughts and feelings. You get to determine those, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. If we perceive this as a challenge that we can get through rather than an obstacle that we're just stuck, then we're going to be so much more successful. So I want you to think about, how is this a challenge that I can be successful with? How in my family can we do this? How can we make this successful? A lot of you have probably heard of cognitive behavioral therapy before. And this is kind of a thought about that. This is kind of an cognitive behavioral thought about how to make eustress. So situations happen, and then and we don't have control over those all the time. What we do have control over is what our thought is about the situation. So if we think, I'm going to make it through this, I'm going to make this a eustress, I'm going to make this a positive, I'm going to prepare my family for an earthquake, I'm going to prepare my family for eustress, I'm going to keep myself safe, and I'm going to learn new things about me, I'm going to be creative, then your emotions are going to follow that, and you're going to be happy, and you're going to be confident, and you're going to be grateful. And that's going to influence your behaviors and what you do every day. So if you find yourself behaving in a way that you're not happy about, what I want you to do is trace it back to your emotions. What were some of my feelings about that? Why did I feel that way? What were some of my thoughts that led to those emotions? And then change that thought. Really work on that thought to help you to be more successful. So something to think about with that. Viktor Frankl, I know a lot of you guys have probably heard of him before. He said this, and it was a very important quote. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and freedom. Right now, we have a stimulus. We have COVID-19. We have kind of being mandated to stay in our houses. We have that we're not working. There's no school. Those are situations that are happening. We get to determine what our response is to that situation. And from that, we're going to grow, and we're going to be more successful, and we're going to have more freedom, or we're not. We get to determine what that is. You get to determine that. And so as much as possible, make that a growth type of thing, a freedom type of thing. I want to tell you about a really, really good TED Talk. Kelly McGonigle has a fantastic TED Talk about stress, called How to Make Stress Your Friend. You can Google and just say, hey, Kelly McGonigle TED Talk. You could put in How to Make Stress Your Friend, and it will come up. It's been watched over 22 million times. I watched it yesterday. And one thing that she said from the studies and everything that they're doing is that if you've had a lot of stress in your life, and you could say that I've had a lot of stress lately, you are 43% more likely to pass away that year from the research they've done. But one thing that's really positive is people that have said they've had a lot of stress but view it as, this isn't something to be really distressing. This is, I can make this a eustress. I can make this positive. It's going to be short term, and I'm going to be able to overcome this. And stress is a normal feeling that we have, and actually helps my body to meet the demands of life. People that see stress that way, that are taught that 40%, those people are actually more healthy than people that say they have no stress. And so once again, it's the perception of stress rather than feeling stress. And so if we can perceive it as, how is this going to be helpful? How is this going to be positive? Then we're more healthy than people that aren't. And if you listen to her TED Talk, she's going to tell you about that. Really amazing things. The human connection part. We've talked about how we want to text, we want a phone call, we want to be on, spend a little bit of time on Facebook with our friends. I don't want you to spend all your time on Facebook. We're still not doing all of that, but I want you to connect with people. The same type of study they did is, people that connect with other people and are stressed, they're 30% more likely to be healthy and to be really successful. So connection's really, really important at this point, guys. And we can still do that. If you like some of the things that she's saying and some of the things I've told you about, a fantastic book's called The Upside of Stress, and we'll go into a lot more details. That picture's a picture of her, in case you were wondering. One thing I want to talk to you guys about stress is kind of a reservoir idea. So we know a reservoir, this is a picture of one. It's a man-made lake, and a lot of times it has water coming out of it for different reasons. And so our ability to manage stress and to manage life is just like this. So we always have things that are causing us stress: family, relationships, money, jobs. Right now, it could be the weather sometimes. It could be growing older. It could be our 401k. We have a couple big ones right now: earthquakes and COVID-19. That's pulling water out of our reservoir. And if before long, if we don't do anything about that, then this is what our reservoir looks like. It looks like a desert. And so we got to be doing things to put water back in. A good thing to think about for you guys is even drawing a picture like this, drawing a reservoir and making a way where water's coming out, and spending some time thinking about what is taking water out for me. What is causing me a little bit of trouble? And here's some ideas. You have some other ideas about what's taking water out. And then I would really want you guys to draw your reservoir and have things that are putting water back in. These are the top 5 that I talk about with people a ton. We've spent a lot of time talking about the top 3, and we spent some time talking about communicating your stress and doing things you enjoy. If you are doing these 5 things while we have this virus going on, in life, you're going to be doing pretty well. So if you're not doing these 5 things right now, that's a goal that I would want you to make. How do I do these 5 things a little bit better? The sleep, 7 to 9 hours. The exercise, I want to try to get at least 30 minutes a day. I'd like to get around an hour would be great. I'm going to try to eat healthy where I can and just do the best I can with that. Communicating your stress. I'm going to talk with people. I'm going to help people to be a part of my lives. Even on this chat that we're having today, communicating some of your stress can be really helpful. And then you got to do things that you enjoy. Random acts of kindness is going to be huge for helping us to be successful and happy. We can still do those things. Do things for your family. Send somebody a text and let them know you're thinking about them, and they've been a great influence on you. We have time to communicate things to people right now. And here's some more for you guys. The time alone one, I think is really good. Some people think that's being selfish and taking time for ourselves. I want you to spend some time with people. I want you to interact, but it's okay to be like, I've spent 10 hours around my family today. I need to spend a half hour reading a book or meditating or doing something that makes me happy or going for a walk on my own. It's okay to have a break like that from time to time, especially now when we're spending a lot of time around each other. It's not selfish. The best thing that you can be is to be happy and to be a part of life and to be, thankful and sometimes time alone, whether that's gratitude or whatever it is going to help you to come back to your family and to be more present, to be a better example, to show people that we're going to be okay. So time alone will help you to do that. Laughing's huge. We're gonna talk about that a little bit more. Along with the reservoir idea, an easy way to think about this is when we get in our cars and we're driving around and we look at our gas tank. It's easy to look to see if it's empty, if it's full, if we have a quarter left. I want you to evaluate, where is my reservoir when I get into my car? Where's my gas tank at? Am I on full? Am I struggling? Is things not going so well? I want you to evaluate that and find out some more things that can help you to be really successful with that. Some sources of help. A lot of you guys know these things. Just put some of those up there. Like I said, let us be a part of it. Let your EAP help you if you need to, whether it's a phone call, whether it's a video, whether it's talking to friends. We're all a part of this. We're all in the same soup, is what I've heard some people say before. We're all experiencing this together. We experience it differently because we have different perceptions, but let's help each other out. Some people talked about a positive attitude. I wanted to put up a couple quotes for you and about your attitude and how big a deal that is. And attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. Every day may not be good, but we can find good in every day. And you guys can do that. You guys can totally do that now, even though we have these things going on. Control is an important thing. I've talked to a couple people already. When the earthquake happened, they didn't have control, and that was really scary for them. I want you to think about this as, my locus of control. So what do I have control over, and what can I make happen? And think about that a little bit. And if you can think, I make things happen, rather than things just happen to me. If things just happen, then it's, well, why am I trying so hard? It's just going to happen no matter what. But if there's things that you can control, and we talked about those, you can control how ready you are for an earthquake. You can control your plan with that. You can control washing your hands. You can control spreading this virus more. A lot of things we can do, a lot of good to help that. One thing with being positive, it's difficult being around people that are always stressed, that are always struggling, that are always negative. You want to surround yourself with positive people, and be somebody that is positive. To me, it's kind of hard to look at the screen, to look at the slide, and to not smile. And so something to kind of think about with that is laughing is hugely important. Some statistics for you. So children smile 400 times a day, but adults are only smiling 20. 4-year-olds laugh 300 times a day, but a 40-year-old is only laughing around 4. We can change that. Let's find a way to laugh every day, whether it's watching cat videos, whether it's reading funny memes, or whatever it is, whether it's being around people that are fun to be around. Laughing is hugely important. Some quick benefits for you guys of a positive attitude. Our goal is to reduce anxiety, reduce stress and depression. Having a positive attitude does that. If you're constantly complaining, there's a lot of negative things that go along with that, and can cause you to not feel as happy. So tons of benefits to a positive attitude. This is the last slide for you guys, and the last thing I want to talk about, and it comes with another TED Talk that you guys have a little bit of time to view. So Shauna Core has a TED Talk called The Happy Secrets to Better Work, and then has a book called The Happiness Advantage. I really, really like his TED Talk and book, and these 5 things go with it. His thought is, and the research says, that our brains at positive is 31% more productive than your brain at negative, neutral, or stressed. If we can find ways to be positive right now, then it's so much more likely that we're going to beat this virus, that we're going to beat the stresses of life, that we're going to beat relationship issues, and we're going to get what we want. And so we need to find ways to be positive. These 5 things are the 5 things that they've researched and studied a lot that are going to help us to have happiness in our life and to reach our goals that we want to reach. Gratitude is hugely important. Every day, I want you to spend some time, usually at the end of the day. It could be the morning, but to me, it's end of the day. What are 3 things that I can be grateful for that happened today? We want them to be specific and we want them to be different. And I'd love for you to write them down or to type them so that you can go back and read them from time to time when you're struggling. It can be my husband did this. It can be my wife made this great dinner. It can be my kids did this. It could be I took a walk. I want you to be specific about them. So it could be husband every day if your husband's great. But I want you to, what specific thing did your husband do that was helpful? Random acts of kindness. Every day I want you to look for ways to do something kind for someone. It's sending a text, an email, it's picking up something that somebody dropped, it's opening a door, it's saying something nice, whatever it is. The doubler's a cool one that for 2 minutes a day, I want you to think about some positive experience that happened in the last 24 hours and relive that experience. Your brain can't tell the difference between if you're visualizing it or if it's really happening. Those positive things are going to come back. The fun 15 is getting some sort of exercise. Like I said, I'd love for you to get 30 to 60 minutes of exercise, but any exercise at this point is going to be really good. Breathing, meditation, all of those types of things, mindfulness, hugely important for our happiness level. And so that is, like I said, those 5 things would be hugely important. A great TED Talk that he has. And so guys, I'm gonna look through some comments. I know right now we're about out of time for, unless any of you want to stay. So one person asked, well, what is the number that they can call for Blomquist? You should, you can always look us up on the internet or anything like that, but the number is 801-262-9619. So if you ever have any questions or need anything, please call us. Like you said, a lot of people talking about journaling and gratitude and how helpful things can really be. Resilience, a lot of the things that we talked about today helps to build resilience and helps us to be more successful. It's going to make it so that, like I said, sleep, eating, being positive is going to make you so that, that you're a lot less resilient to getting, sicknesses and depression and anxiety like that. So building some of these things we talked about today can be really helpful. Like I said, please let me know if you have any more questions or anything. I know we didn't have a lot of time to go over a lot of those, but thank you so much for being a part of this and being a part of this group and talking with everybody. Look for more of these in the future. And, guys, we can do this. We can get through this, and we will. The things we talked about today are just going to help. So thank you very much for coming.
Thanks, guys. We hope you have a good weekend. See you soon.